Hey guys, it's Bitcoin Banker. I am back. It's been a couple of years, but I'm back. I took some time off a little while ago. The whole scene was just sort of getting to me a little bit, even when I was just sort of starting up, building up some viewers and things, but I just wanted to take a break, and a lot of things have happened since then. But today, I'm back. I'm going to have a look at something very important that we all need to sort of really consider with the price moving forward, even this month and even more forward. So I'm going to get into the charts right now, and we'll go from there. Okay, so why don't we start with Bitcoin charts first, okay? And this is the main thing I want to talk about is Bitcoin today. A lot of people are talking about where we're at. There's going to be a big boom. It's about to take off. And generally I would agree with that, okay? You can see here in the daily, there's quite a large ascending triangle that's been building up over the last few months. Essentially, you could take this point here, down to about here, and say, well, it's most likely we could be looking at $80,000 Bitcoin price very soon. That's if this boom works. Why do I think that there is a problem with this? I'm going to go to the monthly and we'll have a look. Okay, this is the monthly chart of Bitcoin. Now I want you to have a quick look. You'll see now I use a couple of different indicators. I've got the TD sequential. Tone Vays has a new version of this, and he's called it the MRI. It's more like a much more refined version of this. Probably works better on higher time scales, but this is the one I use. I use free stuff. I'm a cheap ass. Okay, so if you know the TD sequential, you'll know that it moves up and basically counts usually in a series of 9 ascending candles. Then there'll be a countdown period in the 13 candle where generally you can expect a change in the trend. Okay, I also use the stochastic RSI, but I have these settings on it. And basically what it does, because I'm a sound engineer normally, but so I'm used to oscillators and things. So I have that trend reversal indicator basically, and I have this trend indicator. So I have one that has a much smoother line that shows the moves and the changes. Okay, and the other line shows more of the abrupt changes that can happen more regularly and quickly, and identify those change in price, change in action when it's overbought, and so forth. Looking on the monthly, I just want to put something in context for you, okay? This area here, okay, maybe I'll go to the weekly first. Okay, I'll go to the weekly. You'll see it better. Okay, so this area here, this is when we got to 20,000 in 2017, okay? And at the time, that was a huge move. I remember when we were going through all this, I remember being here, I remember being here. I started trading Bitcoin, actually trading Bitcoin in 2016, thereabouts. I started with 38 bucks. Traded a few cryptos, all that sort of thing, and I was trading around this point here. And it started moving, and I rode it all the way up and all these things, okay? Now, as I said, this is the last big peak, and I was looking at all this price action during this time going, geez, I really don't think it's going to take a lot to get up there, Now, this is what's come along now. Look at the size difference, just how we've moved from here at 5,000 up to 57,000, 58,000. This is monstrous. And everyone's going, oh, we're going to go bigger, 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 bigger. Yes, it will go bigger, bigger, bigger. But at the moment, we really need to consider what's going on here. Okay? Yes, we're in an ascending triangle, but what we also have is a 13. It continued on, which you can do, through the count. Then, everyone was expecting a sort of drop down here back to the moving average here. Didn't happen. We then had this big boom, and it pretty much cancelled out the countdown after the 13. And it continued on and started in a new cycle. So this would generally indicate that it's very bullish. You know, it ignored the divergence, this whole price move, ignored this divergence here, and that's all right because divergences, when you're in such a bullish uptrend, divergences don't mean a lot because when you're having sell-offs over that period of time, this can account for it. However, what I'm starting to see is that the angle that this is moving on usually tells me that it could get a sharper fall. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to the monthly now that we've seen that. This is the monthly. Okay. This is 2017 down here. Now there was a move, or what you could call, if you're using Bollinger Bands, you'd be using the term deviation. And generally when something moves 2 deviations away from the moving average, you're generally going to get the price pull back towards the moving average, which is what happened here. But we did go quite a long way off. Okay. Price came back down, hit around 3,000, took off again. Now when you have a look here, again, we're at this point where we are a long way from the moving average. They're a long way. Okay, we're hitting a 13. All right, there is starting to become signs of bearish sell-offs. So my point is, this could lead to quite a big sell-off at some point in the near future, very near future. Are we going to make 70, 80,000? It's still possible, but I just think because this is a slower moving indicator, it can keep moving. We can cancel this out and start a new cycle, new 1 to 9 candle cycle. A lot of things can happen, but this does really concern me that there's going to be more selling off, I think, than there will be buying, because what you're seeing at the moment. Let's go to the daily. It's looking very bullish on the daily. I think it'd be nice if it just sort of comes down to about here, 56, works its way up, and then takes off. Or even if we pull up now and just kind of poke our head over, move along, and then really take off, I think we could get up to about 72. 72,000. This is US dollars. So, look, it's a tricky thing. Momentum indicators are kind of tricky, especially when they're with oscillators, because you always have high time frames that are affecting lower time frames. You have lower time frames that could converge, and it's hard to explain because I don't have an example, and they can start pushing price up. And it can the amount of pressure that's on, say, 4 or 5 time scales that are lower, say from the 15-minute up to the 1 hour or 3 hour, if they're all converging and starting to move up with a big price action, that can turn a higher time frame a little bit more in a shorter period and start to move that price up. That's not really happening though. We're getting a drop in volume. Okay, we are getting a lot of crisscrossing of these time scales. Okay, if we look at that's the 3 hour, 1 and 4 hour. They're starting to really getting a little dodgy in some ways, I guess. There's a big fight in price on which way this is going. Okay, starting to hit in the lower band of this ribbon here, and the bulls are pushing it back up, but the bears are quite strong. You have a look on the hourly, that's getting more bullish. If you have a look on the 3 hourly, that's quite bearish. So there's this big battle that's going on, and the momentum, it can change quite frequently and unexpectedly, But again, when you go to the weekly, well, yeah, it does look good. There's quite a bit of battle going on, and generally, more times than not, there is a breakout. But there is still quite a bit of selling in the background and exchanging of value in the background that may not be productive to a longer term Bitcoin price at the moment. Could we hit 200,000 this year? It's hard to say, because if this keeps going down, this could go down and just sit on the bottom when the what I'm saying is if this drops down, the price drops down, and we start to fall out of this triangle down to say here, that could be enough momentum in sell-off to continue pushing the higher timescale price down. Do you understand? And then we can start having this pullback, okay? And it can drop pretty severely. So this is something to watch out for. It's something to really consider. There are some storm clouds that are gathering around this price at the moment, and so it's becoming very difficult to decide whether we're going to have this breakout. Now, looking at the daily, looking at the weekly, I'd say it's going to smash it, you know. But I don't know how long that would last. So we could get another few days of down here, and then it pulls up. Now, in the time that it's doing all that, the daily may not have a lot of momentum, and it could just die and fall, you know. Now, can it fall, and how far can it fall? With the monthly being overbought so badly, it could fall quite a bit. In 2017, we had candles. I'll go to it weekly. In 2017, yeah. See, have a look at this again. Look at that. Just look at the scale that it's growing. It's just massive. But on the weekly, I mean, this candle here was a move from about 19,000 to 11,000. You know, that's an $8,000 move. You know, that's huge. We had moves here. Just in this candle here is 13,000. So if you take this and put it here, dropping down 13,000 could take you about 44,000. You know, and then if we continue to have a few more candles that just keep selling off, you know, I don't think we'd go much lower than here. But still, it's considerable. Okay, and we have to really think about this instead of just hearing all the pump, 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 pump. You know, I'm not trying to FUD people. I'm just saying you got to be careful of what's around the corner here. And we're trying to have a bit more of an out-term look, right? So if I go to the monthly again and we have a look at this, the time it takes for this momentum to drop, so if we start dropping now, and it just starts sort of going like this, well, it's now taking us into mid-next year before we really start turning around. You know, that's a long time. So we could get a sort of a bearish market, you know, up until this point here. And let's say I'll be a little bit more, let's say it's a bit more like this. We could just go to here and start doing this again, okay? So either way, yeah, you could see the price sort of be pulling back to these levels, you know what I mean? Which is not 100% sure, but there could very well be a decent pullback on the way, okay? The 2017 pullback was, if we go from the peak down to 3,000, was 84%. Now this won't drop 84%. Certainly, I don't think that would because 84% drop from here, even if I take from the peak, well, that would just put us, you know, back at the beginning, 84% there. Now, $9,000, no, not going to happen. I don't think it would ever happen. I'll be lucky if we ever see 20 again. I don't think we'll ever see 20 again. But we could get something significant, right, to about here. 50% drop, 28, 29, or maybe 46%. The worst case scenario, the least case scenario, 26% pullback. That can happen easily. 26%, bang, no problem. Puts us back at 45. And then we could take off. But that could take, you know, it could take 4 months, 5 months before we even get back that far. So it's just something to consider, guys. Very important that you think about this, that you plan this into your strategy. The monthly does move slower. The weekly is still sort of moving down, and I think there'll be a bit more of a sell-off. I don't know if we're going to, my point is, I don't know if we're going to break out of this this range here. Very, very well could. It's very close. There's a lot going on. I think we could have a nice little pop maybe to 68, 69. I don't know if it'll go much further past that. I just have to wait and see. There's so many different dynamics, and a lot of people see things different ways. So it's just something to consider. Moving on to Ethereum. This is the one where I hear people making comments that were going, there was one this morning, one very, very popular crypto person, I think it was, I won't say, saying that Ethereum is going to go to $27,000. Well, just so you have this in perspective, I'll have to move to a higher time frame. Here we go. I'll move to the weekly. Okay, this is where we are now. This is all the growth it's had over all the years, right? This person is saying it could go to $27,000 by the end of this year. 27,000. I still got to pull them up here. 27,000 by the end of this year. That is about here. Do you really think Ethereum can move that far in the next 6 months? Bullshit. No, it's not going to happen. Okay, it is not going to happen. Most people are saying maybe 8,000. So let's have a look at this. 8,000. All right. Now you think about how much time and effort and investment it took to get to here. Okay, we're only at 2,000. People have been saying we're going to break 2,500 since March, I think, or February. Well, it's only at 2,000 now. So anyway, people are saying 8,000. I'm just trying to do this to give you a more realistic idea. So that is like 4 times from its highest peak at the moment. It's not going to go there, guys. I don't see that happening this year. No way. I would say 3.5 to 4,000. Let's say 4. I'll be fair. 4,000 for Ethereum. It's still that's up here. I think that is pretty reasonable, but not 27 and 8,000. That's bullshit, guys. They're bullshitting it. They're trying to pump the price to get everyone involved. It's just not going to happen. Because on the weekly too, if you have a look at this, whoops. On the weekly, it's a very bearish signal that I'm getting from my indicators here, telling me I could be wrong, no problem. But this is very bearish, I think, and there's quite a bit more room where this price could actually drop down. So it's a very similar thing. So if Bitcoin goes, this can go. Yeah, you understand? Will they break away from each other? I don't think so, because they haven't in 5 years. So again, making all these ridiculous claims and ridiculous prices, I think this is pretty reasonable. $4,000 mark by the end of the year, it's a possibility, But if we have a look again, looking on these higher time scales, okay, we're going to see a change in trend, most likely. Not certain, but most likely see a change in trend. It could pull down to sort of this region here, and then have more of a recovery, and then maybe by the end of 23, we could be up here. Maybe. Hard to say, but my point is, when people telling you it's going to $27,000, it's just total bullshit, guys. It's total bullshit. Okay, it's not. It's just not the way these things move. And this is coming from someone who apparently lost $1 million in their trade. So anyway, I won't go down that path because I used to go down that path. I won't anymore. So. Just putting these things in perspective for you guys. The market has to breathe, okay? And on the monthly, especially in the weekly, it takes time for that to happen. I think there'll be, in the shorter term, let's have a look at the 1 hour. Yeah, it might be a bit of a pump soon, But we'll have to wait and see how it goes. The big thing is, just protect your assets. There could be some storm clouds that, it might rain, could pour. Over the next sort of 2 months maybe. I think it might be a bit closer, but we'll have to wait and see how we go. Okay, because this kind of when it starts losing stability and losing volume and things, it can happen really quick. There's an old saying that says price goes up on stairs, comes down in elevators. Okay, which means the price goes bang, and it can cause a problem. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that for now. I'll do some more tomorrow. We'll have a look at ADA. Might have a look at OMG's been skyrocketing, taken off really well. I'll have a bit of a look at the stock market as well, and I'll look at Australian trades and other things. So I'm planning to do some more videos. If I can get some more interest and more following, then I'll adapt and see how I go from there. But right now, guys, thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. Probably around, I'll try and get done around lunchtime tomorrow. Thanks.